بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Okay, so alhamdulillah, we've covered all of the makharij in the previous classes. So inshallah, we're going to now begin with these sifat, and I hope everyone has been practicing. And keep in mind that obviously when we move on to sifat, this does not mean that we're going to forget about the makharij. Of course, the makharij is where the letter comes out from. It's very important. So if you remember, in the previous classes, we said that tajweed, right, it breaks down into two categories, or you can break it down into makharij and sifat. So makharij is where the letter comes out from, or where the letter originates from. And then along with it, or the pair with it, is the sifat, the quality of the letter. So you need to know where the letter comes out from, like the back comes from the lips, but you also need to know the quality of that letter. For example, is it a heavy letter? Is it a letter which is pronounced with a full mouth or an empty mouth? For example, the ta, that's a full mouth letter. Okay, it's a heavy letter. These are different terminologies you can use. Versus like a light letter is like a ba. You don't say ba, you don't say ma, right? You say ma and ba. Okay, so it's very important to know both the makharij as well as the sifat. So inshallah, we'll go ahead into the sifat now. I'm going to go ahead and share the book here. If you want to follow along, you can do so. We're going to look at the Murshid book. So let me just share that here. Can everyone let me know if they can see the book here now, the Murshid al-Qari? Can you guys see the book? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. You should always be revising, whatever we covered earlier. Right, so for example, makharij, there are 17 makharij, we said, or 17 places where the letters come out from. And then certain makharij have more than one letter, right? Like the dhal, tha, and dha, all right, or the ta, dal, and ta. Whereas other makharij, they may have one. For example, the dad comes from the right or left side, right? So it differs from makharij to makharij, of course, okay? Okay, then we did, of course, all these makharij. Now we move on to sifat here. I'm just going to get this out of the way so I can see. Okay, so the sifat. Sifat is the plural of sifa. Literally, it means qualities or characteristics. So again, in any science, of course, you should know the literal definition, right? The linguistic definition and the technical definition. When I say technical definition, this means technically according to the scholars in that field, okay? So, for example, in this science, is the scholars of Tajwi, the scholars of Qira'at, okay? Let me just bring the spotlight here. There we go. Okay, so technically, sifat are those characteristics which are affixed to the pronunciation of a letter, whether intrinsic or circumstantial, okay? So the sifat are two types. So we have sifat lazima and sifat arida, or as-sifatul lazima and as-sifat al-arida. Okay, so sifat lazima are intrinsic or permanent sifat. Okay, so these sifat form part of the makeup of the letter. That is, the letter cannot be found without these sifat. Okay, so, and then we have sifat arida. These are temporary or circumstantial sifat. In some conditions, these sifat are found. In other conditions, they are not. Okay, so again, we have intrinsic and temporary or circumstantial. I don't know if I covered this earlier, but basically intrinsic or permanent sifat are those sifat which cannot be taken away from the letter. You cannot pull them from that letter. They make up the letter. If you take this quality out of the letter, then the letter will not exist. For example, the ta is heavy. It has isti'la, which we'll learn, right? The quality of isti'la, which means that the ta, the dha, the dad, etc., is heavy. Okay, so if you take away this heaviness, so to say, this tafkhim, right, from it, then the letter will no longer be a ta. It will change into ta, for example. Okay, so now again, the sifat lazima again further divides into two types, and you can make a nice diagram actually. So surprisingly, I have a whiteboard here today, alhamdulillah. So I'm going to try to make use of it. Obviously, that we can use the whiteboard here, but let's see here. So we have sifat. So sifat, let me write in English first, just to make it easy for you. By the way, you see these little lines here above, this line here and here. These are the transliteration. So the line above refers to a med, right? So you know to stretch it. And the dot underneath the scene is like the scene is heavy, it's a sad. It's not a S like a scene, rather a sad. So Sifat instead of like Sifat, for example. Just something to keep in mind. Okay. So we have permanent, right? You can say permanent, I guess. And then you have intrinsic. You have temporary or circumstantial. Okay. So I'm going to use these, I guess, for now. And the permanent, of course, breaks down, or the lazima, which is the permanent, it breaks down into mutadadda, those which have opposites and those which have no opposites, okay? So opposites, no opposites. I'm just giving you an example here of how, you can use, diagrams or whiteboards or whatever to try to learn knowledge. I don't know if you can see us here, but I'm not the best at writing, but you have like sifat, you have here permanent, right? Temporary, and permanent breaks down into opposites, and no opposites. Okay. The reason why I did this is if you're learning any science, right? You can try to make it, you can simplify it, okay? You can take a very heavy topic, a difficult topic, and try to break it down, diagram it, and it's going to help you, inshallah. So I would advise everyone to do that. You can do that for Tajweed, right? Tajweed, you can say Makhalid Sifat, and then go further. Sifat is lazima, which is permanent or intrinsic, and then you have temporary, okay, or circumstantial. So that breaks down. So you have lazima, arida, and then again further the lazima, which is right here. The lazima, which is what? Intrinsic or permanent, breaks down again into two types: mutadadda and ghayr mutadadda. You should familiarize yourself with these terms in Arabic. So mutadadda comes from the word lid, which means opposite. Mutadadda is those sifat which have opposites, and ghayr mutadadda, those sifat which do not have opposites. For now, what are we going to focus on? Only the mutadadda, so those sifat which have opposites. So because these sifat are lazima, lazima means intrinsic, okay, or permanent, it is impossible that any letter of the Arabic alphabet, how many letters do we have in the Arabic alphabet again? Can someone tell me?
26.
27.
26 is the English alphabet. Anyone else?
29.
There we go, 29, thank you. So again, there's a difference, 29, 28, we'll stick to 29, okay, 29. So how many makharij do we have?
17.
Okay, thank you. Jazakumullah khairan. So this means that any letter of the Arabic alphabet be found with these sifat. It is impossible that any letter is found without these sifat. And due to them being opposites, right, they're opposites, since they're opposites, it is also impossible that both opposite sifat are found in any one letter. Thus, all letters of the Arabic alphabet, all letters must have one of these pairs of sifat. So it can't have both because they're opposites. Okay, so it can't be, for example, hot and cold at the same time. It's either hot or either cold. Okay, it has one quality. And every letter must have one of these sifat. Okay, let's move down here now. So now what are we studying again, just to know? We're studying Tajweed, obviously. But what are we studying in Tajweed? So we've covered studying Sifat, thank you. And what are we studying in Sifat? Are we studying those qualities which are permanent or those which are circumstantial?
Permanent.
All right, alhamdulillah. So you guys are following along. Now, these have pairs. There are 4 pairs with one additional category. I'll get into it. So we have Hams, Jahar, Shiddah, Ikhwa, Isti'la, Istifal, Itbaq, and Infitah. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, give me a second. Stop share. Okay. Okay, can you guys see this whiteboard here? This is a different whiteboard. I think they made some changes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's see if I can This is not the whiteboard I wanted, but let's see. Okay, so we have here Hams versus Jahab. Okay, Hams versus Jahab. Shiddah versus Rahawah. Okay, can you guys see this here? You see what I'm typing, right? No, nice and big.
Yes.
I didn't do that. The diagram. I need to get used to this here. Okay, so we have Hams versus Jahab. Where did it go? It's moving around for some reason. Okay, so Hams versus Jahab, Shiddah versus Rahawah, or another word for this is Rahawah. Okay, Rahawah. Then you have Isti', so this little apostrophe is like the Ain, Isti'la, okay, versus Istifal. And then Itbaq versus Infitah. And these Arabic terminologies are in the book. I'm just doing this so you have like an overview, okay? So we have Hams and Jahab, Shiddah, Rahawah, Isti'la, Istifal, Itbaq, Infitah. Now, the first category, if you look here, this is talking about the breath, okay? And this is talking, the second category is talking about the sound. This one here, sound, okay?
Sorry, I can't see anything.
You guys can't see what I'm typing?
No.
I can see it.
Sorry?
Oh, we can see it now.
Yeah, it's just come on now.
Is this come on now or was it there before?
I didn't see it before. I just
It
saw it now.
was there before.
Okay, just want to confirm. Okay, so maybe if you move around the screen, I don't know. Okay, and then Isti'la and Istifal is referring to the tongue. Okay, and Itbaq and Infitah is just an extra. It's not extra, but again, it's the tongue. It's the full tongue. It's the full tongue. Now, just note this for now because it's gonna make things easier. Okay, so when we're talking about Hams and Jahar, we're talking about the breath. When we're talking about Shiddah and Rahawah, we're talking about the sound. When we're talking about Isti'la and Istifal, we're talking about the tongue, the back of the tongue in particular. When we're talking about Itbaq and Infitah, we're talking about the full tongue, okay? So what does all that mean? Now let's get back here into the other. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the whiteboard, okay? I mean, you guys have it here, obviously. Everything is here. So first is Hams. It literally means a whisper. Again, literal definition, whisper. What are we talking about? The breath. Okay, so if you have a highlighter, if you're taking notes, then I would say highlight this part here, or circular, or whatever. The breath flows when pronouncing the letters of Hams. Now there are mnemonics that have been created to actually memorize these letters, or they're here. فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. So what I want everyone to do now is take your hand, place it in front of your mouth here, okay, and put a hamza before the letter, and put a sukoon on the letter you're working with. So what does that mean? So take a hamza here, right, with a fatha, hamza, fatha, and then take any of these letters here, let's say like the fa, for example, and you're gonna place a sukoon on it, okay? So f, f, and do that with me, everyone, okay? So we're gonna start off with the fa. F. Did you feel the breath on your hand?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
F. Okay, now let's do next. Ha. Ah. How about now?
Yes.
Ha. Ath. And the ha. Ah. Sheen. Ash. Kha. Akh. Sa. As. Seen. As. Kaf. Ak. And ta. At. Now, the kaf and ta are a little bit different, and we'll understand why. But you, all of these letters, the breath is flowing when you're reciting these letters, when you're pronouncing the letters. So fa, ha, tha, ha. breath is flowing, okay? Now the opposite of this, like we said, they're opposites, right? There's only 4 categories, and then you know the opposite, that's it. So we have jahar is the opposite of hams. Jahar literally means to announce something loudly or publicly. This is the opposite of hams. And again, if you were to highlight, or you want to highlight or underline, the breath is imprisoned. It's imprisoned, it's stopped, it's cut off when pronouncing these letters. The letters of jahar are all the remaining letters of the Arabic alphabet. So if you know these 10 letters of hams, everything else is jahar. For example, let's take the qaf. Same exercise, take the qaf and say up, up. Is the breath flowing? Up. Yes or no?
No.
No. What about the ta? Up, up. Is the breath flowing?
No.
What about the ba? Ab, ab. You can see the
No.
breath stop, right?
No.
Okay. Now
No.
we're going to move on to, now we're done with breath. Now we're talking about the sound. Remember I said Shiddah and Rahawah is pertains to the sound. So Shiddah, it's not Shiddah. Okay, Shiddah with a fatha means this little W on top. So don't say Shiddah. Shiddah with a kasra. Shiddah, it literally means strength. Now again, if you were to highlight, underline, the sound, the key word is sound, is imprisoned. It's stopped when reading these letters. The letters are found in the combination ajidu, qattin, bakat. How many letters do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. 8 letters. From these 8 letters, 5 of them are the qalqala letters. Okay, so you have jim, qalqala, dal. If you guys know what qalqala is, usually people know what that is, right? So memorize this phrase, ajidu qattin bakat. Ajidu qattin bakat. Okay, so again, hamza, jim, dal. Again, same exercise, take the hamza before it, and we already did this. Let's say jim. Ad. Is the sound flowing? Ad. No. Is the breath flowing? Obviously not. If the sound is not flowing, then the breath is obviously not going to flow, right? It's cut off. Because the sound, what makes the sound? The breath, right? You take in a breath. How does the letter come out, right? It comes out from, you take a breath, and then when you're exhaling, as the breath is coming out, your tongue, when it hits the roof of the mouth, for example, or hits the teeth, it makes sound, okay? But the breath needs to flow. So, for example, the ta, up, sound and breath, both imprisoned. The kaf, ak. Okay, what happened there? So everything else is easy, right? The hamza, ad, up, ab. So the sound is completely cut off. How do we hear the sound after it if it's cut off? Well, we have the other sifa, which is called qalqala, right? So that's the bouncing sound, because the sound cuts off. So then how do we make the sound if it cuts off? Then you need qalqala. So it kind of like vibrates, they say, or it echoes, right? So you have aj, ad, aqo, ato, ab. But now what about the kaf and ta? So the kaf and ta, they have, remember, they have hams. Hams means the breath flows. But they have shiddah as well. Shiddah means the sound is stopped. Okay, so what happens here is the first, when your tongue touches the ta, what's the makhraj of ta? Someone tell me quickly.
The tip of the tongue touching the central incisor, the edge of the central incisor, upper incisor.
Jazakumullah khair, thank you. So first, your tongue touches that place, the sound gets cut off. However, since it has hams, the sound escapes from the teeth, right? So it kind of escapes. At. Same thing as the kaf. Kaf comes from the back of the tongue touching the hard palate. So ak. You guys hear the little flow of breath afterwards? Ak. Yes or no?
No.
You don't hear the breath afterwards? Ak.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
so that breath flow afterwards, ak. There is a breath flow, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Obviously we know because it's the letter of hams, right? However, the sound stopped, okay? So the sound gets stopped and then it flows. Okay. Then the opposite of shidda is rikhwa or rahawa. We can say rikhwa or rahawa. It literally means softness. So this is the opposite of shidda. The sound flows when pronouncing the letters which have rahawa. So for example, the kha, right? Or the sheen, ash. You can hear the sound flowing. The fa, af, the breath and sound both flow. The ha, right? Now, keep in mind, not all letters are equal. Some letters are stronger, some letters are weaker. Okay, then we have Tawasut. So we have again 4 categories, right? Or 8 sifat, 4 categories. So hams, jahar, shidda, rikhwa. However, this one has like a, you can say, not a subcategory, but in between. It's called, literally, it's called in between. So it's Tawasut or bayniya, which literally means in between. This sifa is in between shidda and in between rakhawa. Shidda again means the sound stops. Rakhawa, the sound flows, not the breath. So the sound does not flow as in rakhawa, nor is it imprisoned as in shidda. And the letters are lin umar, lam, nun, ain, mim, ra. Okay, one more time. Shidda, the sound stops. Rikhwa, the sound flows. However, there are 5 letters, and you can remember them in the phrase lin umar. These 5 letters, the sound does not get imprisoned or cut off like it does in shidda, nor does it flow like the sheen, ash, and rikhwa. So it's in between. So give me an example now. For example, the ain, iyyaka nun, ain, ba, dal. Let me write that here. Right, in Surah Al-Fatiha, we read this every day. Now, so if we're to analyze this here, we have a noon, ain. Ain has sukoon. Because when you place a sukoon on the letter and bring a letter before the letter which has sukoon, like the ain with a fatha, then it's quite easy to hear where the makhraj is and what's the sifa and so on. Okay. So here, ain, I need someone to help me out here. Does it have hams or jahar?
Jahar.
Which means what? The breath? Breath
Come
flow.
after the word.
Sorry?
It should be loud.
You should be able to feel the breath.
Does the breath flow? Yes or no?
Yes.
So is it from فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ? That's not, right? It's jahar. The breath does not flow. Okay. However, what about the sound? Is it shidda or rikhwa? Obviously, we know it's right here. It says tawasut, right? So meaning that the sound is not going to flow like very much like the rikhwa letters, nor is it going to be as stuck as the letters of shidda. Okay. What does that mean? So if you were to cut off the sound completely and say na'budu, iyyaka na'budu, that's wrong because you cut off the sound. The ain has tawassut, it's in between. So the sound, should flow a little bit, but it should not flow so much and say na'budu. Again, this is a common mistake. Both sides. If you cut off and say na'budu, that's wrong. Or if you flow it so much, the sound, right? It flows so much, then that's obviously wrong as well. Iyyaka na'budu. Rather, it should be in between. And again, keep in mind, the makhraj of the ain is what? The top of the throat, right?
Middle of the throat.
Middle
Thank
of the
you.
throat.
Good. You're paying attention. Jazakumullah khairan. Ain is from the middle of the throat. So if you take your finger and place it there, iyyaka na', right? That's the middle of the throat. Now, the sound should not flow so much and nor should it be imprisoned. Iyyaka na'budu, na'budu. As you see, it's not cut off and it's not flowing so much. Keep in mind, if you get the makhraj right, then and only then will the sifa be right. If you pronounce the makhraj as it's commonly done, right? And as it's done in the dialects as well when they're speaking Arabic commonly. If it's done from up here, then it's going to be wrong, right? Na'budu, na'budu. It should be in the middle. Na'budu,
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 iyyaka
na'budu.
na'budu,
That's correct.
na'budu,
Okay, good.
Na'budu.
Very good.
na'budu,
Okay. Now,
na'budu.
does anyone have any questions so far before we move? again, there's a note here. So the letters of Rahawah or Rikhwa are all the letters besides Shiddah, which is Ajidu, Qattin, Bakat, and Tawasut. Obviously, that's no. And then we can say Tawasut is not an independent Sifat because it has a bit of Shiddah and a bit of Rikhwa. So that's why it's not an individual Sifat. Okay, so again, there's only 8. Okay, right. Okay, any questions before I move on? I know this is a different topic, and if you've never heard of this before, then obviously anything new is going to be a bit challenging, right? So don't, don't lose hope and say, oh no, Tajweed is so difficult. We're gonna go on practices again, just like with Makharij, right? In the beginning, Makharij was tough. Where does the Qaf come from? Where does the Kaf come from? But because of practice, it's going to become second nature, inshallah. So any questions before I move on? No question, mashallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I think that was easy for me, Makharij, but this is tough.
Yeah, that's just like I mentioned.
Yeah.
This topic, it's going to be tough. You have to go back and revise it a few times, but
yes, sure.
And revision, it's going to be easy, inshallah. We're going to do some practice today, and it'll make sense. Any other questions? No other questions. So that means everyone, 20 people here, 21 or 20 people, they all understand everything that's going on. If that's true, then I need an answer. So either type yes in the box or type no.
Assalamu alaikum, Al-Sab. Can you jump back to 3 and 4, please?
Sure. Okay.
Sorry, 2 and 3. I just want to have a clear differentiation between the Shiddah and the Jahar.
Sure. So
both of them we are stopping.
This refers to the breath, and this refers to sound.
That answers my question. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to assume that.
Just to clarify, so we have 2 pairs. So 1 and 2, the opposites, right?
Yes.
And 3 and 4 are the opposites, and then you've got 1 in between, which is the Tawasut, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, exactly.
So Tawasut has a little bit of number 3 and a bit of 4.
Okay, exactly.
Keep in mind that these letters like Hams and Jahab, they don't have in between. Okay, and the reason why I mentioned this is because some people, when they're reciting, like in particular the Ha, right? They recite in between. So they kind of hold the breath a little bit. They don't let it flow. For example, ihdinas, right? Or like washamsi waduhaha. So they'll kind of imprison the breath a little bit and say washamsi waduhaha, right? So they're doing both. They're doing in between. So they made a new category basically, which does not exist, right? In Tawasut, we do have that category, right? A little bit of Shiddah, a little bit of Rahawah. But in this one, there's no category like that. Okay. Number 5 is Isti'la. Isti'la. Make sure you know the terms properly. It literally means to elevate. The back part of the tongue rises when pronouncing the letters which have this sifa. It is found in 7 letters. Khussa, Dagtin, Qil. Again, another mnemonic. This one's a mouthful, right? Mouthful, literally. This letter is, when you're pronouncing, it's a mouthful, and this mnemonic as well as a mouthful. Khussa, Dagtin, Qil. Read a couple times. Obviously, go back and practice. You have a week, inshallah. Should make sense. But Khussa, Dagtin, Qil. All of these letters are heavy. So for example, this is very easy. Take any letter and just put a alif after it. Okay, what I mean is this here. Take, for example, the ba and put an alif after it. How do you say this? Is it ba or ba? Is it ba or ba?
It's ba.
Right, which means there was no elevation of the tongue. The back tongue did not move. Okay, so you can say it's empty. We can use empty and full. Okay, empty mouth Empty means the mouth. When we say empty mouth, that means the tongue is flat. Okay, the tongue is flat. It did not move. When we say isti'la, that the back of the tongue is being raised, like the ha. Again, there's no movement here. If there's slight movement, try to eliminate it. Ha, but not ho, right? Ha, sa, la, ra, ba, ba, la. Okay? Don't round your mouth and say la or qua or qua, okay? Like ghain, don't say ghain, for example. Ghain, try to eliminate it. It will take practice, inshallah. Okay, so these are the letters, okay? Now, if you take the kha and place the alif after, is it kha or khe? Obviously, it's not khe, right? It's kha. So that's how you know it's isti'la. Sad, is it sa or slay? Obviously, sa. Is it ba or lay? Obviously, the first one, ba. Is it gha or ghe? Gha. Ta or lay? Ta. Is it a or qi? And la or lay? So that's how you know if it's isti'la or not. So it's quite easy. Everything else is empty mouth, right? Like ba, ma. Even though some people say maliki yawmiddin, what they're doing basically is they're applying isti'la in a letter which does not have isti'la, and they're doing, obviously it's wrong. It's not maliki, it's maliki. Okay. Now another mistake as well, which happens sometimes. I don't know if I should mention this because it might become confusing, but let me do it. If you understand it, good. If not, that's okay. So obviously the meme, it's not maliki, it's empty mouth, maliki, tongue lies flat. But some people, what they do is they extend it so much, right? Like kind of this angle, if you're trying to picture it. So it's not like full like maliki, it's empty, ma. Actually, let's keep it like this. So it's maliki, right? So it's not maliki, but some people kind of slanted a bit words and maliki. So they're trying to do such an open mouth, they emphasize too much, becomes maliki. That's obviously wrong as well. Okay. So note here, due to the back part of the tongue rising in isti'la, it causes these letters to be pronounced with a full or thick sound. In Arabic, it's called tafkhim. Number 6 is istifal. It literally means to lower. This is the opposite of isti'la. The back part of the tongue does not rise, but instead lays low when pronouncing these letters. It is found in all the letters besides isti'la. Note, this action of the tongue causes these letters to be pronounced with an empty mouth, tarqiq. So the opposite of tafkhim is tarqiq. Tarqiq, empty, tafkhim, heavy, open, heavy mouth. Okay, then we have the final category is itbaq, like a plate or lid or cover. The center part of the tongue embraces or encompasses the palate. Its letters are 4, sad, lad, ta, dha. Okay, so itbaq, remember isti'la, the back part of the tongue raises. Whereas itbaq, even the sides will come up like this. It will become like a plate, like a cover. Okay, so all of it is embracing the roof of the mouth. So it's becoming saw, it's very heavy. Saw, la, ta, dha, right? So the full tongue, not only the back, but the full, everything is being, it's hugging the roof of the mouth. And these are only 4 letters. Now keep in mind, these 4 letters must have isti'la, but the isti'la letters do not necessarily have to have itbaq. What are the other letters besides these 4? There are ghain, kha, and qaf. If you look here, khussa, daght, and qid. Right? You have kha, ghain, and qaf, only have isti'la. So which means only the back part of the tongue is raised, not the full tongue is embracing the gum or rather the roof of the mouth. So all of these letters, this is what I just said. So all the letters of itbaq have isti'la. Okay. Note, due to this sifa, these letters are read more full than the qaf, ghain, and kha. So I think I mentioned this as well. Obviously, because these 3 letters, qaf, ghain, kha, only have isti'la. But these 4 have isti'la plus itbaq. So not only is the back part of the tongue being raised, but even the sides. So it's a very full, heavy letter, like the ta, ta. Okay, infitah is the opposite of itbaq, which literally means to open from the word fataha. This is the opposite of itbaq. The center of the tongue lies open, not embracing the palate. Whereas, remember, the center of the tongue rises with itbaq. It's found in all the letters besides the letters of itbaq, including the qaf, ghain, and kha. So qaf, ghain, and kha have isti'la plus what? Do they have itbaq? No, right? So what's the opposite of itbaq? Infitah. Okay, so this is the opposite of itbaq. The center of the tongue lies open, and itbaq, the center, does not, it's embracing the palate. It's found in all the letters besides of itbaq, including the qaf, ghain, and kha. Okay, so if you say qaf, you're only using the back part of the tongue. I mentioned this before, the kha and ghain. Whereas those four, you're using this the tongue, the center as well. Now note here, because the tongue lies open, it causes these letters to have a more empty, more tarqiq. In Isti'la, Istifal, Itbaq, and Infitah, which is the last four, the action actually takes place in the tongue, but metaphorically, we say it takes place in the letters. Obviously, it doesn't happen in the letter itself. It's because of your tongue placement that the letter is heavy or empty, or light rather. Then we have غير متضادة, which are Sifat lazima. Okay, any questions so far?
Can you please revise tarqiq?
Tarqiq is just empty mouth. Okay. Versus tafkhim, which is heavy. This is Arabic terminology.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam, yeah.
Can we say that the Isti'la letters are more heavy than the others?
Yeah, itbaq are more heavy because they have isti'la plus itbaq.
Okay.
So the four letters, la, ta, dha, and la, they're more heavy. You can even feel the heaviness, right, when you're listening. La, very heavy.
Oh,
okay. Now, I don't know if I should go on to the next topic, but you know what, this topic is quite easy. I mean, actually, you know what, let's do this actually. Then we can do a practice session next class, inshallah. Okay, so remember, we have a quick review. We have Tajweed, we have Sifat. Sorry, we have Tajweed, breaks down to Makharij Sifat. Okay, Makharij, we've done 17 Makharij, 29, 28 letters. Sifat we're doing now, we just completed. So again, Sifat breaks down into permanent and temporary, or rather, I like these more terminologies better, intrinsic and circumstantial. Intrinsic means the letter does not exist without it. Like these letters here. It must have either hams, it must have jahar, it must have isti'la, it must have itbaq. And then we had the opposites, mutadadda, which we just did, the four categories opposites. And then we had another branch, which was ghayr mutadadda, which does not have opposites. So they're still intrinsic, they're permanent, meaning the letter must have these, but they do not have opposites, okay? So let's see what the author says here. So the ghayr mutadadda, these sifat are also lazima. Lazima again means intrinsic or permanent. That is, it is impossible that a letter having one of these qualities be found without it. However, they do not have any opposites and will only apply to some letters of the Arabic alphabet. That's why it's a bit easier. Okay. Number one, safir. Literally means a whistling sound. It's found in Sad, Sin, and Zai. When these letters are pronounced, there's a whistle sound. So you say as, as, as. There's like a whistling sound. Lean, it literally means softness. It's found in the waw sakina and ya sakina when they're preceded by fatha. So aw and ay. They are pronounced with ease and without much exertion or difficulty. So they are found in the waw sakina and ya sakina when they have a fatha before it, like here, aw and ay. Example is khawf. It should be nice and soft. Khawf. You should be able to, how do you know if you're reading it softly or not? You should be able to stretch it. Khawf. Or with the example of the ya. Quraysh, Quraysh, Quraysh. Nice and soft. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان شيطان شيطان. It's not shaytanir. It's not hard. Nice and soft. Number three, inhiraf, it literally means to incline. The makhraj of these letters inclines towards the makhraj of another letter. It's found in the lam and ra. Okay, because the lam and ra are very close together. Remember, the lam is from premolar to premolar, and the ra is from canine to canine, touching the roof of the mouth. So they're very close. So the ra inclines, the lam inclines towards the makhraj. Okay. Practically speaking, does this have an effect on the letter? Not so much as like safir or takrar, right? Number 4, you can say takrir, takrar. It literally means to repeat something, and it's found in the ra. When it's pronounced, the tongue shudders or shivers because it repeatedly knocks against the palate. Remember, the ra is the tip, the top of the tongue, as well as the tip of the tongue, touching the roof of the mouth from lateral incisors to lateral incisors, or the roof. And like, for example, when you say ar, right? So it's kind of hitting the palate. So in this quality, as the note says, the correct pronunciation of takrir requires us to hide or minimize the takrir and not to exaggerate. So if you say ar, that's wrong. So this sifa you have to avoid, right? So, I mean, this sifa is literally, it's intrinsic within the ra, of course, right? Just as the inhiraf is where the lam and ra is inclining toward the makhraj of another, these are permanent within the letter, okay? So what do you have to do? Then you have to avoid it. So you don't say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, rather avoid it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Number 5 is at-tafashi, literally means to spread out. It's found in the sheen. When pronouncing this letter, the breath spreads through the mouth. Obviously, this is one letter that I think everyone uses, right? When they're trying to hush someone, they say shh, right? Because it spreads so much, it has the quality of tafashi. So that's why maybe they use it. I don't know. Shh, right? If anyone knows any other reason, then you can tell me. Okay. Al-qalqala, it literally means to shake or disturb. It's found in the letters qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal. And remember, ajidu qattin bakat is what we use to remember the letters of shiddah, right? I know this is the first time you're hearing these mnemonics and they may be difficult, but inshallah it will be easier by next week. So again, another combination is qutbu jaddin, qaf, ta, ba, jim, dal. These 5 letters, right? When these letters are pronounced, there is a disturbance in the makhraj, making it seem as if they're being read with an extra echoing sound. Another way you can take it is, for example, like, I don't have a ball here, but let's say when it bounces, right? It bounces, it hits the surface, then it comes back up, like a bouncy ball, right? Like abe, apple, ato. Okay, and the reason for this is that these letters are strong, right? So it kind of produces like a shaking in the makhraj where the letter comes out from. Because we know the shiddah, we know that these letters here, qalqala, they're both jahar and shiddah, meaning the breath is imprisoned as well as the sound. So then how does the letter come out? How can we hear it? It's because they have qalqala. They're very strong, they shake the makhraj, so then we can hear the letter come out. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to hear it because the sound stops and then the breath does not flow. Okay. More example of qalqala. Yeah, we'll get a lot of examples, inshallah. We have, like I said, in the exercise, there's many, right? If you look at Surah Al-Falaq, you'll have many examples there. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ the qaf min sharri ma khalaq. Look at that surah and read it. The examples are there. Or like in Surah Al-Lahab, Lahab, Masad, right? In the Jim as well, Aj. Okay. So it's pronounced with the echo sound, like aqo, ato, ab. Keep in mind here, don't get ahead of yourself, okay? What we're doing now is we're studying Murshid, book number 1. The point of this book is for you to know the technical definition of all these terminologies, right? Linguistic definition, technical definition, you should be able to understand it, explain it, right? And then obviously, once we're done with this book, then you're going to recite the Quran. So then, when the teacher tells you, oh, you didn't do qalqala here, or you pronounced the makhraj from its wrong area, or you didn't apply hams in this letter, then you'll be able to know, okay? So inshallah, we'll get into that. Okay, so number 7 is istitala. It literally means to lengthen. It's found in the dad, only one letter. When pronouncing the dad, the sound is lengthened from the makhraj, the beginning of its makhraj till the end. So from the beginning of the side of the tongue until its end, until it reaches the makhraj of lam. Remember, the dad is from the molars, right? If this is the side of the tongue, the molar, it starts from like here and goes all the way to the lam. The lam is the premolar, right? So it starts from the molar and goes and meets the lam, which is at the premolar. So so it's the makhraj of this is very long. Okay, this is why you hear the little sound before it, right? Lod. Okay, if you're pronouncing it correctly, there's a little sound there. So that sound is basically your tongue pressing against that makhraj and extending until it meets the premolar. lod. Doesn't mean though, this does not mean that there's movement in your mouth and you're rounding your mouth and so on. Rather, there is that extension of the makhraj, right? So it starts from the its point of makhraj and reaches the lam, which is at the premolar. Brother Yasir is saying, will we recite today? Have you, is this your first class, is this your first time joining us? Then we have Sifat Arida. These characteristics are temporary. Sometimes they're found in all the, sometimes they're found in the...
Yes, it is my first time. It's my first time today.
Okay, mashallah. So welcome to the class, Brother Yasir. So what we're doing is we're completing this book first, okay? And there have been many classes which we've already had, and you can find them, inshallah, on the website. The recordings are there. So feel free to follow along.
Is it only on Saturdays?
That's correct, yes. So these Sifat Arida, there are 11 in number, and we're going to do these obviously next time. So alhamdulillah, we've completed Sifat Lazima, which are permanent. Okay. Let's do a quick review here. We have Istitala, we have Qalqala, At-Tafashi, we have Takrar, Inhiraf, we have Lean, Safir, we have, and then obviously we have the opposite. So we have Hams Jahab, Shiddah Rahawah, and we have Tawasut or Bayniyah, Isti'la, Istifal, Itbaq, Infitah. Okay. So the Sifat Lazima is done, alhamdulillah. Obviously, what's left now is practice. So inshallah, from next class, we'll begin with practice. And we'll try to practice for at least half an hour, inshallah. So we get a full half an hour of practice. What I want everyone to do for homework, of course, I'm going to write it right here. Practice Surat Al-Fatiha. When I say practice, I don't mean recite. I mean practice the way we're doing, of course. I'm going to explain it in a moment. First 3 ayat, that's it. First 3 ayat of Surat Al-Fatiha. So starting off from like Alhamdu Lillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim.
I can't see anything on the white screen.
How about now?
Oh yeah, now I can see it.
Okay, so this is the homework, that's it. So what I want everyone to do here is exactly what I'm going to do now. I'll give you an example. So Alhamdu, Hamza comes from the bottom part of the throat. Hamza, and then I'll go through it in order. Is it Hamza or Jahar? You know, in the beginning, you're gonna have your book in front of you or whatever. Think about it. Okay, so it's not fahathahu shakhsun sakat, so it must be Jahar. Is it Shiddah or Rahawah? Think about it. Is it, remember the phrases, Ajidu qattan bakat. Okay, so it's Shiddah. It's obviously not Tawasut because it's Shiddah. Is it Isti'la and Istifal? I'm going to give you a very easy tip for the last 4 categories. Very, very easy. Take the letter and put an alif after it. I've showed you this before. So do I pronounce it A or A? Obviously A with an empty mouth. So it automatically, it's not Isti'la. If it's not Isti'la, it's going to be Infitah. It's going to be Istifal and Infitah. That's it. So take the letter, place the alif after it. If it's pronounced with an empty mouth, ba, ta, tha, right away, it's going to be Istifal and Infitah. If it's a heavy mouth like ha, sa, la, ra, then you have to think a little bit about it, but it's not too difficult. Only 7 letters. Of those 7, 4 have itbaq, the rest are just Isti'la. Okay, one more time. So Hamza, from the bottom part of the throat, Hamza has, then do it right away. You know, think about Hamz Jahar. It has Jahar, it has Shiddah. And then think about the Sifat which are Ghayr Mutadadda, which do not have opposites, which are the 7 we just covered. Does it have a Tafashi? Does it have Qalqala? Does it have Lean? Is it Takrar? No, nothing. So I'm done with Hamza. Next, Lam. Lam again is from the side of the tongue, from premolar to premolar, touching the roof of the mouth. And then think about it. Hams Jahar. Is it Fahatha Shakhun Sakat? No, so it's Jahar. Is it رخوة شدة? Is it أجد قط بكت? No. Is it رخوة? Is it لين عمر? Is it توسط? Yes. So it's توسط. Okay, so it's jahar, the breath is flowing. Okay, and it's tawassut, or you can say bayniya, so it's in between rikhwa and in between shidda. So the sound is not so imprisoned, it's in it, and it does not flow so much. Okay, so now of the obviously the qualities which do not have opposites, has inhiraf, lam and ra have inhiraf. Again, with practice you'll get it. The ha comes from the middle part of the throat. It has hams, it has rikhwa. Does it have any other quality from the غير متضادة, which do not have opposites? No. Mim comes from the lips when they meet together. Is it from the dry part of the lips, or the wet part of the lips? It's from the dry part of the lips. Does it have hams or jahar? Is it فحثه شخص سكت? No, so it's jahar. Is it أجد قط بكت? No, so it must be rikhwa. And then you hold on, no. It's a lin umar? No, so it's rikhwa. Right away, so it's jahar and rikhwa. So right, the sound, so the breath is not flowing. You place your hand in front of it. There's no breath flowing, but the sound is flowing, so it's rikhwa. Does it have anything else? Is it qalqala? No. Is it lean? Is it a tafashi? No. Okay, dal. Dal comes from the dal, the tip of the tongue touching the gum line of the upper central incisors. Ad. Is it hams jahar? It's not فحثه شخص سكت. The breath is not flowing. The breath is not flowing, right? Ad. Okay. What about shidda rikhwa? أجد قط بكت. Okay, so that means the sound is not flowing, the breath is not flowing, so it must be jahar, it must be shidda. Of course, I didn't do Isti'la and Istifal because I already told you, right? If you take the ha, is it ha or ha? Is it ma or ma? It's empty mouth, so right away you know it's Istifal and Fitah. Okay, what about the dal? So again, it's jahar, it's shidda. Is it Isti'la, Istifal? Do you say da or da? It's da, so it's going to be Istifal and infitah. Okay, let's take an example of heavy letter, just so you get an idea, because these are all light here. Let's say, sarata. So actually, I'm gonna give you one more homework, okay? Do this ayah as well. So ihdi. Yeah, this is good. It has few letters. Okay, so this is going to be homework as well. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Okay, so let's take, for example, let's take the ta. Ta. Someone, I need someone to help me out here. Someone, raise their hand or open your mic and say, I'm ready. Anyone?
What did you say? Can you repeat it?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat what you just said?
Repeat what?
The other homework.
Yeah, it's right here. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. This ayah here. The first ayat are here, and then we're doing this. So I need a volunteer here to do the letter ta, please. Someone.
Shall we recite?
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
I'm sorry, who wants to go ahead? Yeah.
Can I do it?
Who is speaking? I'm not sure who I is.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
Jazakallah khair, but that's not the lesson. That's not what I'm asking. Okay, Brother Hamza, please go ahead. Everyone else mute their mics. I need someone to volunteer. Brother
Sorry,
Hamza.
sir. What did you ask? I don't.
So, did you guys follow along what I did here? So I did the makhraj, I did sifat. If someone is following along, please raise your hand and go ahead. We don't have much time. It's already, the time is done.
Ta is coming from shidda. Sound
so
is
ta,
stop.
Okay. First, let's do the makhraj. Where is ta coming from?
Ta is coming from tip of tongue touching inside
The gum line.
Gum line of upper incisor.
Excellent. Okay. Now, is it hams jahar?
It's jahar.
Excellent. Jahar. Okay. Is it shidda rikhwa?
It's shiddah.
Good. So the breath is not flowing, the sound is not flowing. Okay. Is it
Yeah.
okay? Isti'la Istifal. So is the tongue being, the back of the tongue being raised or no? Oh.
No, not raised.
It is being raised. It's being raised because it's not playing, right? It's ta. Okay. And does it have itbaq or infitah? Is the tongue being, is it grasping the, or is it hugging the roof of the mouth?
No. Only tongue is, tip is raising, not
Tip
back.
is raising as well as the back. Yes, the back is being raised as well, and the sides as well. So if you go in front of a mirror and try to say ta, 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 you'll see the sides are being raised. You may not be able to see the back because of, obviously, but you may be able to see the side here.
Okay.
So that's the exercise. Does everyone understand what they're supposed to do? That this is the homework. The first three. Obviously, I'm not expecting everyone to do it right away. It's gonna take time. I understand that. But does everyone understand what they're supposed to do?
Yes.
Okay, mashallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that Brother Ibrahim there? One time run.
Oh, yeah. So the question, I asked a question in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I understand.
When you said the sound does not flow, do you mean that the sound is not continuous? No. So I just mean that the sound is not flowing. It does not flow at all. Like ab, is the sound flowing? Ab, it's cut off. So there's no, because if you say continuous, then you're saying it's in between. Okay. So that would be basically Tawasut or Bayniyah. So like the ayn. So you can say it's not cut off completely. It's not flowing as much, right? So it's in between.
Yeah, but for example, ghayn, isn't it cut off? So why is it the
what? Sorry, which letter?
Ghayn.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that one sounds that it's cut off. Like it's not continuous.
Okay, so let's analyze that. So ghayn. So is it hams or jahar?
That's jahar.
Okay. Jahar. Right? It's not fahatha wa shakhsun. Is it shidda rikhwa?
I mean, it says rikhwa, but it sounds like shadda though to me.
Okay, so we'll get to that. So let's go through this and then we'll get into that. So okay, so it's shidda, jahar, rikhwa. Is it isti'la or istifal?
Istifa.
Itbaq and fitah. Okay.
Yeah.
Quality. Okay. So the ghayn, you're talking about the ghayn. So when we say it's jahar, that means the sound, that means the breath is not flowing. So take your hand, because I think what's happening, people are getting it confused between breath and sound. Take your hand and place it in front of you. When you say al, do you feel the breath coming up to your hand? Al,
no.
No. Okay, what about the rikhwa there? It's not ajidu qattin bakat, right? So it's rikhwa, which means the sound is flowing, right? So can you hear the sound? Al.
Yes.
So that's flowing.
I see. That means it's flowing. Okay.
Okay.
Jazakallah.
Okay. So again, I understand this is a new topic. It's going to take time, and for those who participated, Jazakumullah khairan, mashallah, very, very well done. I know it's the first time, very brave of you to go and volunteer. So that was well done. Okay, there's another. Okay, any more questions? So we're pretty much done the class here. Does anyone have any questions?